The state government, so Steve Pierce is here, Senator Steve Pierce. What do you think? Are you wasting any money down there?
We waste a lot of money down there. We sure do. Pamela knows it. For example, you're absolutely right. There needs to be something done with Department of Administration. We pay each agency pays the Department of Administration to lease their building. Plus, we're about a fourth vacant down there, maybe a little more than that. We're still paying rent on buildings to private enterprise for the Department of Education down on Central, for Department of ADWR, Water Resources. There's several others that I can't think of at the moment, but we're renting space when we have vacant space. So that, you're absolutely right, and that needs to be looked at. So there's a lot of waste in it. We've cut a number of things. We've cut a little over $2 billion in state spending. There's been about a $12.8 billion shortfall since 2008, and we've done this with a lot of temporary fixes to balance the budget, but there's a lot of cutting that needs to be done. We've mortgaged buildings so we can maintain spending at a certain level. Folks, there's a lot of serious cuts that need to be coming, and the biggest thing that's going to be cut is probably education, because that's where all the money is right now. So I'm glad to hear all this. This is very good, and these people up here, Pamela Gorman knows it very well, so we need to make cuts in state government.
Roger.
Are you renting your state capital? Sold it. Yeah.
Roger, I
wish we'd sell ours. It's just me.
Roger, I wanted to say something about...
Oh, go ahead, Tom.
I want to remind everybody that our state legislators are actually going back to work this week. Those who are sitting, there was something that they passed last year, did a great job, put something on the ballot to kind of rein in some of these public sector unions. And that was the SOS ballot, the Save Our Secret Ballot measure, which was going to the ballot and then got interrupted by a lawsuit from the unions. And so what the unions did was they got the Supreme Court of Arizona, apparently Supreme Court, I'm not sure what their logic was, but they went along with the union lawsuit and they tossed this thing off the ballot. Well, the good news is our state legislators have convened, or are going to convene tomorrow afternoon for a 3-day session to make sure they put that measure back on the state ballot. So yeah, technically in Arizona, when you send something to the ballot, it's only supposed to be one subject. Well, the lawyers did a good... Anyway, the lawyers who put it together did what we thought was a very careful job to make sure it was a single subject, but you know how lawyers work and you know how judges work, and if they decide they want to create two issues where there's really one, they do that. And so they managed to toss this thing off the ballot, but the good news is that your state legislators are going back in tomorrow, and they're going to, we think, fix that and send it out to the ballot so that we can vote and we can keep the unions from taking over and doing some of the things you talked about, ruining more industries and ruining more job creation and productive activity here in the state. So thanks to our legislators.
Back over here.
Hello. I'm Vernon Parker, and I used to be the mayor of this great town, Paradise Valley, where you're sitting right now. And a couple years ago, and even last year, we had a 25% budget shortfall. And people, they came to us and they said, raise taxes, raise taxes, raise taxes. And I just could not fathom that. And when you're the mayor, it's a very simple thing. You have to learn to count to 4. You have 7 people on there, so I kept eyeing them. And we finally came to the realization that instead of raising taxes, we had to cut spending. And we ended up cutting spending 29%. And that was a very painful thing to do. And that's something that I think our federal government is not doing right now, because you have to be good stewards of what was given to you. And when you talk about this health care bill, I am a lawyer, so that is a precursor to this, but you cannot have health care reform, or you cannot have any sort of reform without tort reform. We have had lawyers, trial lawyers, they have run this country, and they're running it into the ground. All you have to do is look at the state of Texas. You know, they had this mega boom because, not just because they decreased taxes, but because they had tort reform. And the governor, she's, I fought this one when, they said that, well, let's just raise the sales tax by 1 penny. No, it was not 1 cent. It was an 18% sales tax increase. And it's not politics, because when you look at any corporation that's going to relocate, they are not going to come to the state of Arizona. They're going to go to Texas. They're going to go to New Mexico, because they're not going to be satisfied, because they're not going to have any sort of stability to think that we are going to raise taxes. And that is the death knell of this country, and that is the death knell of the state, and I am so happy that someone's actually doing something about it.
Congratulations on the reduction. I wish I had you on the city council in San Diego. Good grief. They're talking, and this is a classic thing at the local level. Because notice this attitude is local, state, and federal. This attitude of OPM. You know about this disease? This is a disease. Other people's money. If you had an unlimited credit card and you didn't have to pay the bill, what, you'd cut expenditures? So that's, the attitude of this ruling class. And it's got to stop, and I think it does stop, starting in the local, state, and national level. And they'll come to Pam. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Roger, thank you. I'm Susan Bittersmith, and I actually wanted to answer Alan's question about where you can actually cut federal spending. Arizona is not only battling the feds on Senate Bill 1070, we're also battling the federal government on our water resources and our energy sources. And in fact, we have a power plant in northern Arizona called the Navajo Generating Station that is threatened to being shut down by an activity of the Environmental Protection Agency. We've been battling that for a number of months, because if that power plant goes away, the cost of water to Arizonans will go up 4 to 5 to 6 times. Here's the rub. Here's been the federal government's solution to our pushback and our inquiries, and Senator Pierce knows this very well because he's been very helpful on the state level in helping those of us that do water policy to try to push back to Washington. They not only now have engaged the EPA, the answer to our questions were we need to engage the National Park Service, the Bureau of Reclamation, the Bureau of Indian Affairs, and, oh, by the way, the Bureau of Land Management. All of those agencies, instead of coming back to require and providing information and adjudicating our decision, have gone out to hire an economist, an environmentalist, and 4 or 5 different lawyers. So the answer to trying to reduce the cost of energy in water to Arizona has been to increase spending and duplication of services federally. And that's a place where you start. Agencies do multiple things, and they do not communicate with each other. There's an immediate need to cut across the board, and we could do it very, very simply. Vernon's right. It's a tough decision, but it can be done, and it has to be made.
A very important point. All right. Now, Pamela Gorman.
Hello, I'm Pamela Gorman, and you've all been sitting well, so I'm going to have you do a little activity that'll wake you up a little bit. Everybody in your wallet or your purse has a picture of a child or a grandchild or a niece. I want you to dig it out right now. Everybody go for your purses. Somebody's got a picture. Come on. I got mine. See? Y'all carry them. Thank you. Those of you that don't, I'm not going to tell your children, your grandchildren, that you're not carrying their pictures. This is important. Thank you, Vernon. Because this is why spending matters. You know, we get caught up in all of these other little issues, and they're important issues. But for these people, the future of America, spending is the issue. And I would encourage you when you get home, since apparently you're not carrying your pictures around, start carrying them around. Put them out someplace where you see them. And every day between now and Election Day, thank you. This is another one. They're coming on board. It's like new converts. The prayer room's over in the back at the end. Every day between now and Election Day, I want you to look at that picture, and I want that to be your focus. Dave Ramsey is a gentleman I have a lot of respect for. You may have listened to him on the radio. He does a lot of financial efforts to train us all how to be better keepers of our money. He talks about having the intensity of a gazelle being chased by a lion. That is how you need to treat every day between Election Day. Elections matter. They matter for these people. Whenever you wonder, why am I doing it? Why am I making those phone calls? Why am I knocking on the doors? You're doing it for the future. They're entitled to the pursuit of happiness. Nobody is guaranteed happiness in this country, and that's what our government right now is trying to do. Make these people pay for other people's happiness. Give them back the right to the pursuit of happiness. Just let them be free. Let them go do what Americans do best. And thank you so much. And I do hope you will take this seriously. I think this is a great activity. I never used to carry it either, and I do now. Good job. See, you got it on your BlackBerry. That's the modern way to do it.
Thank you, Pamela. All right, anybody else want to talk? Yeah.